Okay, Matthew, nice to meet you in Korea. Like last time we were in the UK, right?
Yeah, it was the UK, I believe. Yeah.
Maybe in Dubai, right?
It was Dubai.
Yeah.
It was Dubai. Yeah.
So, like, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, it's great to meet you. Thank you, everyone. I was actually born in South Korea. My mum is Korean. My dad's English. He was an entrepreneur. I moved to Thailand, and then I moved to England. Most of my career has been there ever since. I come from a biomedical engineering background, and then moved into the VC world after doing 2 startups. I've also built one of the biggest VC communities in Europe, and I'm trying to expand that globally. So now I find my activities are larger now in the Middle East and the Far East of Asia, and I'm trying to connect multiple continents, make sure we can leverage community power as well as networks to the extent that startups would find it easier to meet investors and share deal flow. And then also meet LPs, prospective LPs in other geographies. So it's just making efficiency out of a very inefficient private market.
Makes sense. There are like a lot of missing links for sure.
Yes.
So like you travel back and forth between the UK and Korea, and you're dealing with so many investors from all over the world, even LPs. Yep. So what's the biggest difference between kind of European and Asian players?
That's a very big question, and it's a great question. I think with these 2 continents, there's many different countries, right? They're quite fragmented, unlike America. So when you think of Asia, you have Japan, Korea in the Far East, Hong Kong, Singapore, and then Malaysia, Thailand, and all these other kind of countries in the southeast part of Asia. Then on the flip side, with Europe, you also have language fragmentation. United Kingdom, France, Spain, Portugal. And what I see is with Asia, there's a lot more appetite towards deal flow in Europe and America because there's more follow-on capital. You have exits as well, so it generates DPI for funds. So we're in the business as VCs to invest and make money. Given this is private market and the shares are not listed, you need to have exits. So you need to find ways for your companies to either have an M&A or IPO or do a secondary exit. So I think with Asia, the problem is now post-pandemic, we had a lot of tourist investors, like big names, I'm not going to name them, and they were doing Series B plus.
Wow.
So we'd have IPOs like Grab,
Wow.
for example, right? Grab, Gojek in Indonesia. And a lot of these countries like Japan and Korea, they struggle to scale companies outside of the country, which is why Jay and I know each other. We want to help address this.
Right.
Europe as well, I think we have exits. We are also quite risk averse. I think people want to invest in companies that have revenue. And whereas you see in America, it's a great team, big markets. Here's like a post-money valuation, 15 million,
Wow.
and the capital to accelerate. And so you have all the talent in Silicon Valley. You have all the VCs and investors. You have the entire ecosystem that can help you. Your salespeople as well. Your actual clients. You don't have that in other geographies. It's quite fragmented. So I think there's things Europe and Middle East and Asia can do together to rival Silicon Valley.
Each market and each player has like a different perspective on which is first, which is later, second.
Yeah, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Europe has got a strong economy, or it did. Japan is the 5th strongest economy, I believe.
Right.
So the problem you have there, though, is that it's like Korea was a hermit kingdom. It was hard to get investors to come in and also make the case for investors to go out. And mostly you see that in VC and startups. The playbook is not very clear in these parts of the world, whereas you find in America and like the American investors that have moved to Europe, they are bringing that Silicon Valley mentality of being able to invest in companies with a seasoned founder who's done it 2-3 times, exited maybe, so you have lower execution risk. And then also you have like the investors around the cap table who would come in and make sure the company gets to a certain PMF and then just grows.
Right. So like since you're traveling all over the world and you've been to many conferences and exhibitions and demo days, so like when I work with the Korean founders, they usually ask me like, oh, okay, Jay, how can I approach like when I go to conferences outside of Korea? How can I approach and how can I start a conversation with from different world? What do you recommend for Koreans? Only for Koreans?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's For Korean founders, I find that when I've been to demo days or pitching events with Kotra, for example, and I've been invited, I've been quite surprised when the founder is not pitching, it's an IR person. I'm like, oh, 왜 그래? Like, what's going on? Like, it's shocking because it's first of all gives a wrong impression. The founder is meant to be the visionary and sell the company. And I think secondly, there's different expectations because the LPs in Korea tend to be governments.
Right.
Or banks like Nonghyup or Shinhan. And I think what you have with, when they come to Europe to pitch, they're like Series B, they're not on revenue, they're not showing the metrics that you want to see in America. And then, and they're very awkward when they're networking.
Right.
You can't just show up and then say, oh, 돈 좀 주세요, like give me some money. You can't do that. It's the same in America or Middle East. You have to build the relationship, get to know them, because you're not the only company we're seeing.
Right.
And also, the funds have a mandate. We can't always invest in Korean companies. We can only do European companies, for example. So I think that has to be qualified. But on the flip side, you have Coupang. You have some good success cases in Korea. So I think when founders in Korea come, they should qualify their investors they're meeting.
Qualify, okay.
Build a relationship and take time to build those relationships. Also see why you're coming to Europe, not just for money, but are you coming to sell into the region? And who's your competitor in the region?
So we need to make a narrative first and different playbook.
Narrative, exactly. You're bound to have competitors in the region. Make it clear why you're coming and why you're 10x faster, better, cheaper. Do you also understand how to go fast? Startups about speed.
Right. A
lot of the companies that come to England or America from like Kotra, like I find that are not moving fast enough. So when you're a startup, it's all about
Makes
speed.
sense.
You want the J curve.
Makes sense.
Many of them are like 10 years old and doing like that.
Right.
And that's not VC.
Yeah.
That's like private equity or family office. So you need to share like dominance and speed.
And what if when it comes to like a kind of networking party or networking event, I just like hold my glass or whatever on left hand and right hand.
Yeah.
Who do I talk to? How can I start my conversation with like European investors or American investors?
As a Korean founder.
Yeah,
in
as
those
a Korean
regions.
founder.
I mean, you have to, you either show up or you don't, right? It's 0 or 1. If you're going to be there with your glass and not do anything, you shouldn't be there anyway, right?
Okay.
Don't come. It's a waste of your time.
Okay.
Just go and speak to people and you'll figure out who they are. Don't cold pitch right away. They go, oh, I'm a founder. I'm raising money. Because that scares people. See how you can help people. Oh, I'm doing this. Like, what do you do, Jay? Like, oh, nice to meet you. And then you tell me what you do. And I go, oh, I'm building this. Maybe I can help you or I can introduce you. What we call that in America is paying it forward. PIF.
Paying it forward. Okay.
So I call it the new PIF, not the Saudi one. And paying it forward is about helping someone without expectations. And in the end, like, when you help people, I believe in karma. People will help you back.
All right.
And that's how I actually got my VC position. So I think as a founder, go and speak to people. Don't be afraid. You're the one who's the expert in this company. People don't want you to fail. They want you to win. So go speak to founders and other VCs in the room. And then, in time, you'll find someone who can actually help you once you offer the help. But you need to show up and
just
speak.
be brave, expose yourself.
Be brave, yeah, exactly.
So since we are in the Fosterbridge today, so what do you expect from Fosterbridge this time?
Yeah, first of all, Jay's told me a lot about Fosterbridge and I'm very impressed with the setup. It's phenomenal. I go to a lot of conferences, so I was very proud of him. And what I'm expecting to meet more of the local stakeholders in Korea that I would normally not meet. When I first came to Korea, even though I know like Kotra and all these different Korean organizations, I still found it tough to break through. Right. So I think this gives me like a qualified group at a glimpse of the ecosystem. And the garrison really helped me too when I came. So like tells me who to meet, who can be helpful to me as well. Next day I should say. Meet a lot of VCs, founders, as well as government ecosystem.
Okay, so and the last question would be any tips or any advice for founders or entrepreneurs in action or like pre-entrepreneurs? Any tips?
Yeah, I won't give them anything negative. I'll give them something positive in that sense. I think there's a book by Simon Sinek. It's about like start with why. Know why you're doing this. even in Europe and America or Middle East, I see a lot of people who think it's cool to be a founder. They want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. It's not about that. Like, you really have to be product focused, obsessed with your customers, and understand what market you're in. It's not like a joke, because people are putting their own money into your venture. Really know what you're building and be aware of what investors are funding. Like right now it's AI. After OpenAI, the LLMs, this entire value chain's changed the world, Gen AI, and also things like climate tech. Like, know who are the players, can you copy these ideas and take them to Korea, and find an exit pathway. Like, build a proper business, study a lot, don't rush into it, but be adaptable.
So it's like a one sentence, like know what you do.
I think know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Oh, why you're doing it as well. Okay.
Yeah. And I think put a lot of time into it, study a lot, because the investors speak to a lot of companies doing the same thing you're doing, or a derivative.
Right.
And they'll know a lot of things before you even talk to them. So you want to impress them with your knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, that's it for today, and thanks
Perfect.
for your insight and perspective.
Thank you so much for having me.
No
Great to meet
worries.
you. Thank you.